Steve Kerr has 5 rings, and he joins us now. Hi, Steve. How are you?
How you doing, Dan?
Good. Were you sleeping in?
I sure was. I'm in South Beach. It's a big night last night. You know how I roll.
Did Jordan ever invite you out when those guys would go out on the town?
Very rarely, but he didn't actually go out on his own much. I mean, he would kind of stay in his suite, play cards with his guys, and he couldn't go anywhere without just being mobbed. So he didn't go out a whole lot.
How late did the suite go?
That's a good question. Because he had his guys who traveled with him, his security guys, and they love to play cards. I think they'd stay up very late and play cards. But I was out a couple of times just where Michael ended up in the same restaurant or same bar, and this was before the days of cell phones, and it was still like within half an hour of him walking in, like the place just was packed. I mean, people got on the payphone next to the bathroom and calling their buddies, Michael's here. And within half an hour, the whole place was filled. So he couldn't go anywhere without calling.
Did you ever go out with Rodman?
Yeah, that was that was fun. Dennis was great. He enjoyed going out, obviously, and he enjoyed when guys would join him. And so we go out every once in a while. You could only do it about once a month.
He did it every night. Yeah, he did it every night. You did it once a month.
He was great, though. He was a fun teammate and fun to be around.
I remember the bar, the Crow Bar.
Yeah.
Okay. I go to the Crow Bar, second floor, and all the there's a lot of Bulls who were there. And over the corner, now the bar has got kamikazes. That was Rodman's big drink. So there are probably 50 shots of kamikazes on the bar. And I see Rodman with a Chicago police shirt on, and he's got a guy holding on to him and a girl holding on to him.
Yeah, sounds pretty accurate.
All right, that's the only reason why I wanted to have you on, Steve. Thank you.
All right, nice talking to you.
Okay, here's a poll question. Would you rather have the career of Charles Barkley or Robert Horry?
You know what? Somebody asked me a few years ago kind of the same question. Would I rather have my career or Steve Nash's career? And I guess it's similar. My answer was it would have been a lot more fun to be Steve Nash on the court every night. I mean, he just and dominate the game instead of just trying to make an impact once in a while. I think I'd rather be Charles than Robert. I know Robert hit huge shots and everything, but to be dominant every single night, if you're Charles, and to go out there and literally just destroy opponents, that had to be so much fun.
I'm looking at the MVP voting, and LeBron didn't go unanimous, and I have no problem with it. I mean, Carmelo's not my kind of player, but I do understand what he did for that team. Dan Lebitard of the Miami Herald couldn't be more of a homer for the Heat and LeBron, and he said he thinks without LeBron, the Miami Heat would go to the NBA Finals this year.
I don't know about that. I think they would. They've gotten to the point where they've established a foundation defensively and the way they play. I think they'd be a playoff team. I think especially in the East. I remember when Jordan left the Bulls. The next year we won like 55 games and lost to the Knicks in the 7th game of the playoffs. It's a little different, but there is something to that. When you establish who you are as a team and a good foundation, you can keep going for a while without your star. But I do have a problem with the Carmelo vote.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just and I understand it's art. It's however you interpret it, that's your right, and that's great and everything. But I don't care how you interpret it. LeBron is so much better than Carmelo and so much more important. I just I voted Carmelo first team All NBA. I think he's been phenomenal, but I don't even think it's close, and I think that's why there's the outcry. I'm anxious to hear Gary's explanation as to what he determined his vote on.
Well, I would have had Durant as my vote. If I was going alternative, I could have gone Durant easily. And I look at Chris Paul. I thought Kobe, what he did was amazing this year, given everything that happened with that team. I thought Steph Curry was amazing. I think LeBron is so much better than everybody else. He plays every single night. They had the winning streak this year. It's easy to look at LeBron and say, there's your MVP. Carmelo's not, I wouldn't want to play with him. and he's not, my type of an MVP, but I do understand on that team. I mean, look at the rest of the roster here. Let's be honest. I mean, their second-best player is playing in China. Okay, they got JR, they got Tyson Chandler at the end of his career, and Jason Kidd's my age. I mean, they've made do with a makeshift lineup there, so I give him credit there.
Well, and that's why Carmelo deserves to be first team All NBA. But when you say it's too easy to vote for LeBron for MVP, I mean, what does that mean? It was too easy to vote for Michael in '98, so we gave it to Karl Malone. It's kind of the same concept.
I got so much grief that year, Steve, that I voted for Michael. And the Utah newspaper was calling me, wanting to quote. And I said, look, I'm sorry. I look at Jordan differently. He'll win the championship this year against Utah. I'm giving him the MVP. And I remember getting so much grief where they were saying, how can you do that to Karl Malone? I said, Michael can do whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. Charles Barkley got an MVP as well. Michael was still the MVP. Michael only won 5. I say only 5.
I think they got tired of voting for him.
Are we going to do that with LeBron?
Well, apparently Gary's already started the trend.
All right, a couple of thoughts here. You said that Derrick Rose owes it to his teammates to play.
Well, I couched it to start with on the telecast. I said if he's not in danger of getting hurt, if the knee is not at risk, then he should be giving 15 or 20 minutes because of the nature of the injuries on the team, the fact that people are in the hospital, they're going on one leg. If Derek can give him 15 minutes, then he should. That was my point. And the problem is that they should have just ruled him out of the playoffs, or he should have ruled himself out just to avoid the speculation. Mm-hmm. But by leaving it open, and we're watching him out there working out, and he's been cleared for 2 months, why wouldn't he go out for 15 minutes? The only way you wouldn't is if you're worried about getting hurt. And if that's the case, then I have no problem with that. Then he shouldn't play. He should be very cautious. But I've never heard that. I've always heard it's just timing or confidence. And the last step of the rehab process. And I tore my ACL in college, so I've been through that. The last step is just getting out on the floor and playing. But I actually feel bad for Derek because he's in a tough spot. He's sort of been put in a tough spot by leaving everything open instead of just announcing that he's out. He's an unbelievable kid. He's a great player. He's a great teammate. So I don't feel like he deserves criticism. I'm just saying I think he should be out there with his teammates if he's okay to go.
Well, part of the problem is now they've advanced, so the further they advance, the more people keep saying, well, imagine if Derrick Rose was on this team. If they had lost to the Nets, then we table this for this summer, and then we started up again in the fall. It's a no-win situation. The problem I have is if a doctor, the information goes public that you've been cleared by the doctor, that's where the downfall started. Because 2 months after that, and you've been cleared, then I think it's more mental than physical, and I think that's what he's trying to overcome right now. Yeah,
and you got guys getting spinal taps in the hospital.
Unbelievable.
And running around on one leg, and that's why it's just so exposed. And again, I feel like he's in a no-win situation, but the way to handle it would have been to just announce he's not coming back till next year. Let's move on, and then everybody would have been fine with it. So he's in a tough spot.
All right, quickly here, the Clippers with Vinny Del Negro. You think he'll be back after losing?
I have no idea. He's done a good job. In fact, last summer he and Gary Sachs really teamed up as sort of co-general managers to put together the bench that was so good for them. I mean, Vinny's played a major role in their success. But this has happened before. We've seen, we saw Doug Collins get fired in Chicago while the team was on the rise, and Phil Jackson brought in. If there's somebody they have an eye on, a big name guy, then it wouldn't shock me. But it's this is a tough one for the Clippers.
So you'll be working the Heat game tonight against the Bulls. Warriors Spurs then the second half of the doubleheader. Yeah,
and then Marv and I will be right back here in Miami on Wednesday for Game 2. So I don't know, 4 straight days in Miami. This is dangerous. South Beach.
Yeah, I can see you, man. Nobody partied quite like you did, Steve. You're like Beaver Cleaver. You're Richie Cunningham from Happy Days there. Hey, go back to bed. Thanks for joining us.
All
right, Steve Kerr. I don't even know if Kerr was there at the Crowbar in Chicago, but all I know is Buddha was there, James Edwards. There were like, I don't know, 5 of the Bulls who were there, and Rodman. But the bar was full of kamikazes, shots. And if you went to the bar, you had to do a shot. And it was Rodman who'd say, hey, bro, he never knew my name. He thought I was Craig Sager. He said, hey, Craig, do a shot. I'd say, my name's not Craig. And then he'd laugh. And then he had a guy, he was holding on to a guy and a girl. And I went, wow. Sure, why not? And then the next night, they had a game. And I think Rodman went for 18 rebounds, something crazy. But I went to practice that next day. They had a shoot-around in the morning. And Judd Bushler and Steve Kerr came up to me and said, yeah, how you feeling? I said, a little rough here. And Dennis was out there like a pogo stick, just jumping and running. And they go, he does this every night. He's a professional. I said, yep, I'm double A.